Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a happy new year. And just thought I would give you a little intro into our new series that we're starting. We're starting a series called Roar. How do we find truth in a world full of opinions? Yeah, we live in a day and age where there's a proliferation of opinions. There's opinions all over the place. People aren't more opinionated now than they used to be. It's just that we have access to those opinions with so many different platforms that we know over and over again what people think. And oftentimes, because of the safety of virtual distance, if you will, they give an opinion more boldly, sometimes more arrogantly, and sometimes more confrontationally than they would if they were looking at someone face to face. So we begin this series on how do we find truth in a world that's saturated with opinion. So let's look at John chapter 18, verses 33 through 40. Pilate then went back into the palace, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked. "Or did others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" retorted Pilate. With this, he went out again to the Jews gathered there and said, "I find no basis for a charge against him. But it is your custom for me to release to you one prisoner at the time of the Passover. Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews?" And they shouted back, "No, no, no, not him. Give us Barabbas." Now Barabbas had taken part in an uprising. Recently, my youngest son Jake and I have had this ongoing conversation about eras of athletes, and he has this contention that modern day athletes are much better, that a lot of traditionally great players in the past couldn't produce in their sport the way they did back then. And I've sort of given to him that I agree with you that athletes are bigger, stronger, faster now. That's obvious. Surely that's the case. But I've also said there are athletes that in their era, if they were here today, they would still be superstars. Whether you're talking about Mantle or Mays, whether you're talking about Brown, Jim Brown, or Gale Sayers, Barry Sanders, whether you're talking about Marino, whether you're talking about basketball players like Larry Bird or Michael Jordan or even Pete Maravich. And he's sort of resisting. He said, no, Maravich wouldn't, he's not even quick enough. He's 6'5", a guard 6'5" now is nothing. Now, he may be right. I don't think so. And I may be wrong. But they're just opinions. No way to prove them. We both hold to them. We both argue over it in a good-natured way, sort of have fun with it. So how do we wrestle with finding truth in an era that is overpopulated with opinions? How do we find truth in a day and age when there are platforms that are producing more and more access to what everyone thinks about any and every subject to find truth? Pilate asked a good question. What is truth? Now, here's the thing I want you to know as we begin this little introduction. When you ask the question, what is truth? Your perspective and your assumption when you ask the question means everything. Here's Pilate's assumption. When Jesus says, "Whoever listens to me will hear truth," John tells us earlier that Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so recognizing this, that ultimately when we are looking for finding truth, perspective is everything. Context means something. Our assumption in the very beginning of the conversation is this. Pilate assumes that as he looks at Jesus before him, who is the powerful one? Pilate thinks it's him. Who's the judge and who's the defendant? Pilate thinks he's the judge. Jesus is the defendant. Who's the powerful and who's the powerless? You get where I'm going. Pilate begins the conversation understanding, or at least anticipating, that here's the context. I'm in charge. And thinking that, assuming that, creates an arrogance, frankly, and a vertigo, if you will, around where you really stand, because he doesn't realize he is standing before the judge of all creation. He is standing before the creator of everything. He is standing before God in the flesh, and he is the judge of all mankind. The problem then is, with that assumption, Pilate will never understand the answer to his question. What is truth? We've talked about it before, but there is this understanding too that there is a custom where one prisoner is let go, and realization that Barabbas is this guy who's led an insurrection. He's a murderer. He's guilty. They know he's guilty. They give the option. And the people of Israel say, let him go, not Jesus. And clearly there's something of you and I in Barabbas. We're the guilty one. We're the ones who deserve to die. We're the ones who have sinned. And yet, through the grace of God, Jesus Christ has come, and he will die that you and I might be set free. The other thing is this. There's an interesting connection to the Day of Atonement, because the Day of Atonement, there was this casting of lots by the priests to take two goats that were without spot or blemish and offer the one up for sacrifice that was perfect. Jesus becomes that sacrificial lamb. And here is something that is so contrary to all the opinions that have ever been, that if you want to build a kingdom, it's not the powerful who will win. It's not those who feel like they've got all the odds stacked in their favor. But it's the realization that the one who is perfect will give up his life. That a kingdom will be started not by force, but by sacrifice. What is truth? We'll wrestle with that over the next few weeks, and wrestle with what does it look like for each of us? Because here's the problem for Pilate. He asked the question, and you and I know the answer, but he wouldn't have recognized it if it had slapped him in the face. Because in the arrogance of his perspective of being the one in charge, truth is standing right in front of him. And he can't stand, and he can't see it. Can you see it today? He's standing in front of you and says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Happy New Year. Hope you have a great week.